Heath.
Nice of you to join me, my brother.
Yeah, it's the boys for this episode.
Twice as much testosterone.
Is that how the ratios would work out? I'm not sure.
No, it's a quarter more testosterone per steroidal androgen.
We will be a two-man show for this episode of Mobius Tubes. Episode 127, that is, being recorded on August 3rd, 2025. Heath and I, it's going to be a classic feeling show. Just the two original hosts. We are missing Samantha at the moment.
We miss her dearly, but when Roger's girlfriend left the show, Siskel and Ebert really hit their golden years.
Roger Ebert. Yeah, we've talked about him on the show before. Heath.
Yeah.
How's it going? You're in your work uniform this episode.
I'm dripping in fluids. That's right. I wear many hats, and I don't take them off. I'm like that Key and Peele sketch.
Do you think it'll help you get into an analytical business mindset for the back half of this episode?
Oh.
Where we have emails to discuss and the state of the video game industry to ponder.
Well, Chris, I fancy myself an armchair CEO having run a business but never had any stake in it. So we'll see about that.
Cool. Well, I've got plenty to discuss this episode. You've been keeping me on pins and needles wondering what you've been playing.
You know what I've been playing.
I have a couple theories of what it could be, but I'm honestly not sure. Do you want to keep me in suspense for even longer?
No, folks listening, I'm opening Steam on my computer here and turning off hide activity.
Okay, so that's how you did it.
Yeah.
You see, I have been stalking Heath's Steam profile, his Nintendo Switch Online activity. My working theory is that whatever game he's been keeping in the dark had to be on like the Epic Game Store where we are not friends. But no, you were hiding activity on Steam. You went above and beyond.
You're supposed to right click, manage, unmark as private.
I love that you went to this extra effort. I am booting up Heath's profile.
No, close that.
Close it? Okay.
We have show to do. I wanted that to marinate.
Simmer in the background.
Yeah.
So you want me to kick things off?
You should.
On the what we've been playing section.
Yeah.
Sure. This might come as a surprise to you, Heath, but I have been going bananas for Donkey Kong Bananza.
Ooh, banana. It's such an earworm, isn't it?
It really is. The music in this game has been stuck in my head.
Folks, we're talking about Donkey Kong
Bananza.
Yeah, okay. Phew.
Yes, this is the hot new Nintendo title, a exclusive for the Switch 2, kind of that new console's killer app at the moment.
Yeah.
Just to tee up the premise for the uninformed, it is the latest game from the Super Mario Odyssey team, a new 3D platformer, a collectathon type affair where it is a constant barrage of just picking up goodies in giant, somewhat self-contained 3D environments as Donkey Kong and his partner, young Pauline.
We're not going to do any spoilers, are we?
No, this will be spoiler-free.
Yeah.
But in general, it's a whimsical adventure as this duo tries to reach the planet's core. They're digging deeper and deeper underground.
Right, because Donkey Kong's motif, aside from just he's king of the jungle, but there's also a lot of mines, and they're mining vanadium.
Banantium, I think, is the technical term.
Thank you.
I'll say, just to get real with the audience for 2 seconds, between Samantha's sudden move and departure from my daily life and some serious health issues afflicting members of my family, having the opportunity to play a game that is as playful and joyful as Donkey Kong Bananza has been a welcome distraction for me. This game has been my biggest surprise of the year, I can say confidently. Even if we go back as recently as June, when the three of us were readdressing our fantasy publisher draft competition, all three of us slept on Donkey Kong Bananza. No one picked it up.
Oh, because I thought it was going to be like another Tropical Freeze clone.
Right. I was aware of the game, but I lacked faith.
I had no idea it was going to have some of the best game feel of Nintendo's recent output.
It's really a triumph. I was sleeping on this game. I had no reason to think it was something I needed to be hotly anticipating, and yet I've been proven wrong. Nintendo really has a winner on their hands, if you ask me. At this point, let me give you a quick progress update on where I am in this game.
Yeah.
I kind of expected to have at least seen the credits by this point, and I have not. I'm something like, just to give you a
I need numbers, dude. There's
Sure.
like 500 Banantium.
How many bananas do I have?
Sure.
I am above the 400 mark.
Oh, you're far.
I'm pretty far. I have still not finished the game properly. I'm on something like sub-layer 1200 of the Earth. That'll give players who are familiar with the game an idea of where I am.
You know some lore.
Yeah, there's a plot in this game. I'm not going to say it's the driving factor keeping me going, but there's some interesting characters, a trio of villains who are fun to see up to their antics. The main impression Donkey Kong Bonanza has been leaving on me is it's impressed me with, well, I'm not going to say it marries two contradictory gameplay styles. I will say it's mashing two elements of game design you don't usually see cohabitating like they do in this game. On the one hand, Donkey Kong Bonanza is absolutely tickling my monkey brain, pun intended. It's a carrot on a stick, leading me by the nose constantly to the next collectible. Everything in the environment is like bright gold, absolutely shining and sparkling. It's a constant dopamine drip. I'm so stimulated playing this game with its vibrant color palette. I'm comparing it to something like a Vampire Survivors, where it's a constant rush of video game dopamine, almost being overstimulated. And just to give you a sense of the rate you are progressing in Donkey Kong Bonanza, according to my Switch, I just crossed 20 hours in this game. And my most recent banana count exactly is 442 bananas collected, which for the uninitiated, if you're playing a Mario game, it's kind of like the Mario 64 star or a Mario Odyssey moon. It's kind of like the main thing you're chasing, your barometer for progress. But so far across my 20 hours, that means I'm averaging a banana every 2 minutes and 45 seconds.
Which would kill you. That's a lethal injection potassium joke.
Because bananas are slightly radioactive, right?
Yes. That's also why they're mining it.
Okay.
Donkey Kong is
like uranium.
Is the freak that he is because he just ate so many bananas.
So yeah, in fewer than 3 minutes, you are making substantial progress, getting a new banana. And that's not even accounting for the fact that you're chasing other things like fossils in this game are useful, or just amassing a whole bunch of gold to spend. That's one of the currencies. So calling it a drip feed is almost doing it a disservice. It is a fire hose of progress. It's shooting at you. And it's been really fun. But on the one hand, I was saying, okay, the game is appealing to my baser instincts, my lizard brain. But on the other hand, there's very creative, impressive Nintendo game design at work here. And those two are married together in a beautiful sandwich that is Donkey Kong Bonanza. I'm going to say it's a continuation of the recent Nintendo game design trend some of their games have had, where Nintendo has been in the habit of releasing very open-ended games. I'm thinking of the recent Zelda games primarily, like Tears of the Kingdom or Echoes of Wisdom, where Nintendo has been very reluctant to say no to the player. If you have an idea to solve the puzzle, it's often going to work. And they allow you to solve the problems the games present in a wide variety of ways, even if it feels like you're quote unquote breaking the game. That's like the best feeling you can have.
You're talking about the metal weapons conducting current.
Right. Yeah. Nintendo has this fixation on like integrating physical properties to their game that interact according to a rule set. And that is in Donkey Kong Bonanza to a lesser extent. I'm not going to say it's as crazy as Tears of the Kingdom. I'll have some examples for you later. But just to illustrate my point that Donkey Kong Bonanza is so eager to please the player and say yes to them, the game frequently has challenge rooms you can find, which are kind of like self-contained little instances of a puzzle for you to solve, very analogous to a Zelda shrine, for example. They suck you out of the open world and you're just in a little puzzle box room for 3 minutes or so.
Is this they run really fast on the clouds?
I wasn't going to mention them.
Oh, okay.
In a very...
Why is that a sensitive topic?
It's not that sensitive.
I just bleeped out what I mentioned.
No, you can mention the zebras by name. That's fine. But in an early challenge room in Donkey Kong, the goal was clear. You were in kind of like a conveyor belt going through a tunnel. And the goal was to dodge obstacles along the way, get to the end of the tunnel where there's a banana waiting for you to collect. Cool. Okay. Little platforming challenge. Very old hat. Simple, straightforward. And somehow I've made it this deep into the conversation, failing to mention the Donkey Kong Bonanza, the main gimmick, the main hook, is environment destruction. Donkey Kong, with his fists, he punches, and he can burrow through the environment like a mole. Almost anything can be destroyed by him, almost anything. And the world is your oyster. You're pretty free-form where you can dig, where you can burrow as Donkey Kong. And in this challenge room, that logic still applied, where I was able to, on a whim, kind of tunnel up through the wall of the tunnel I was in, get on top of the cylinder I was supposed to be platforming through, and just straightforward walked across it, hopped down at the end and landed at the banana. I circumvented the obstacle course. I got on top of it instead. And it's that level of freedom that's provided to you that makes the game feels like you can break it wide open. It's very, very exciting. I will circle back to some final points of praise. Once I make a crazy niche comparison that I'm going to admit is tenuous at best, but this is where my brain went as I've been playing Donkey Kong Bonanza recently, which is a niche comparison to the world of hobby board games. I got the sense, if in the designer's room at Nintendo, I feel like Shigeru Miyamoto could get along quite swimmingly well with prolific board game designer Reiner Knizia. I think these two could find some common ground on the game design principles they like to employ in their games. Reiner Knizia, he's the less known name here. I'll just say he makes hundreds of board games, many of them kind of a dud, but he has made some of the best board games around. And a common trend in Reiner Knizia games is that he likes to give the players a pretty simple tool set. What you do on your turn doesn't change all that much. There's not too many avenues you can pursue. And yet, while the moves you make on any given turn of a Reiner Knizia game are quite similar, maybe it's through the desert, all you ever do is place 2 camels on the board. In modern art, all you ever do is pick a painting from your hand and put it up for sale.
Sometimes two.
The purpose behind how you spend your turn, even though it's not changing, it's a simple tool set. The number of different applications can be great in number. I'm thinking about, and through the desert, yeah, you're placing camels on the board, but maybe you're making a beeline for a valuable oasis.
Oh, or deny the other player the most color of that camel.
Or you'd have to be world police and block a player's path who would be running away with it otherwise. You're playing defense. Or you're carving out a little section in the corner of the map instead of fighting over the center for the enclosure points. All you're ever doing is placing camels on the board, but the number of varied reasons for doing so is great in number. And where I'm drawing the comparison, finally getting it back to Donkey Kong Bonanza, all you do in Donkey Kong Bonanza is punch. You punch forward, up, or down. That's Donkey Kong's moveset. It is not sophisticated.
Sometimes he rips a chunk out of a thing.
Sure, he can grab chunks. That's correct.
Okay.
The moveset is not that verbose, and yet Nintendo has created and invented all these varied different applications for why you would want to be punching something. So at the beginning of the game, it's quite simple. You see a shiny object poking out of the ground, and you're like, I'll go excavate it. No big deal. And then it slowly evolves into, I'm going to create my own shortcut through this obstacle course. And then it starts to get, and I'll keep this pretty spoiler free, as you get later into the game, the applications become more and more inventive, where suddenly there will be a lava level. When you can't traverse lava, you'll get burned.
Right.
So the goal is way far away. There's a stream of ice water.
Yeah.
And you need to excavate, using the force of gravity and the tunnels you create, a path that will guide the flow of water into the hot lava that'll solidify it for you and create the platform you can get across.
Cool.
Really cool.
Yeah.
That's some of my favorite parts in the game. And they keep layering on new reasons you would want to punch something and how it'll change the level around you. They kind of flip the script on you where instead of just being a means for destruction, you're punching, there will be certain types of terrain where upon punching them, it reforms in a different set location. So now you're almost becoming a sculptor, where by punching, you're creating negative space that forms into positive space somewhere else that'll be used for your traversal. The reasons to punch something keep growing greater in number with creative applications, and it just reminded me of how a move in a Reiner Knizia board game could serve so many different purposes. And in the same way, Donkey Kong's punch is a very versatile tool, despite the fact that it never gets more complex.
I see it now.
It was a stretch. It took like 10 paragraphs to get there, but that's where my mind went. I am fully endorsing this new era of Nintendo, where I dare to say these games that are coming out, they're like immersive sim adjacent. They're giving you this tool set that you then apply creatively to solve the problems. And then on a more superficial level, the game is just very charming. I think the music has been universally very pleasant. There are transformations Donkey Kong can undergo. You'll gradually accumulate more of them. They give him different power sets as he temporarily transforms into a zebra, for example, which makes him really fast. But anytime you transform, Pauline, your companion, she's singing a musical number. And every one of the Bananza transformation songs has been a verified banger in my head. They are so catchy. One of them will surely appear on a Mobius Tunes episode at some point.
Unexpected. All right.
Yeah, look forward to that. And I just one more musical call out. The challenge rooms where you kind of like leave the main open world temporarily to either do a combat challenge or a puzzle. Those have a set musical identity to themselves, which is more of a lower tempo, chill, kind of a synthy vibe. And they've been very relaxing, very fun. I enjoy those a great deal.
Oh, wow. This is going to maybe appear on your top 10 list.
I'd like to see something try to unseat it. It is in the top 10.
Ooh.
Maybe top 5. I can't believe how well I'm getting along with it.
Huh.
Biggest surprise of the year for me, like I said earlier. The new Donkey Kong character model, they kind of reworked his character design a little bit.
Yeah.
I find him to be more expressive, and I'm going to stamp it with my approval. I like it.
Yeah. Seeing it in motion is a game changer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought of one more thing worth mentioning on the game's presentation, which is as you are gathering these Bananza transformations, you often get them by learning a secret technique from like a village elder you were visiting as you burrow deeper into layers of the earth.
Yeah.
And the village elders, I don't know if it's because of the greater horsepower that the Switch 2 can bring to bear or what it is, but something about the level of fidelity they're rendered in and like how wrinkly and old they are.
Oh.
Some of them to me are borderline grotesque.
Oh, no.
And I kind of dig it. They almost seem out of place in this game. Honestly, some of the ways Donkey Kong can look after one of his transformations, also, those proportions are out of whack. The ostrich in particular seems cursed in my mind. The expressions in general in this game, very emotive, very funny. That goes for both Donkey Kong and Pauline. They're great.
Yeah, what a surprise that this new Donkey Kong game would become your favorite Donkey Kong game, but also by process of zero sample size, it's your least favorite Donkey Kong game.
That's fair to say.
You've never played a different one?
Here's the inflammatory statement I'm willing to make right now. Is there recency bias pumping up this statement? Yes, probably.
Yeah.
I think I'm enjoying Donkey Kong Bonanza more than any 3D Mario platformer I've ever played.
Oh, hold on now. Does that include Captain Toad Treasure Tracker?
I've never touched that game.
That game rocks.
Okay. This is including Mario 64, Galaxy, and Odyssey. I think I like...
Better than Galaxy?
I think I like Bonanza more than all three.
What?
Will I live to regret sharing that opinion? Maybe time will tell. But as of right now, I think the highs of Donkey Kong Bonanza have eclipsed the highs of those other games for me.
Oh my God.
I know. I said it was an inflammatory statement.
Is that why you like yellow so much?
I was born to chase these bananas.
Yeah, I guess so.
All right. That is all my thoughts out of the way. I'll probably return one more time once I've seen credits, give an update.
Yep.
But that's all I've really been playing that I care to give an update on. Over to you, Heath. I am on the edge of my seat. What have you been playing?
All right, boys and girls. Chris losing his girlfriend to the perils of work-life balance. Don't worry, Chris. You always have your first girlfriend, me. I have returned to The Witcher 1.
No.
Now,
you're pranking me.
So Chris is like, Heath, how and why? Because I know that your PC was killed by Frostpunk 2.
Right.
So by what means, how are you playing this? Well, Chris, that brings me to the subtitle of The Witcher 1's box art you see on my visual aid here. It says Enhanced Edition.
So it does.
I'm going to walk you through the bastardization that I do to this game in The Witcher Diminished Edition.
Yeah, for the listeners, there is a PowerPoint presentation I'm watching right now.
It goes as follows. I am playing it on my 14-inch MacBook Pro. And I'm playing it in Chris would put this on his PC, maybe his TV, in the most crystalline resolution that GPU could output.
Pixels per inch off the charts.
Right. I am playing 800 by 600, which, as you can calculate, is a 4:3 box aspect ratio. I really need to come up with more visual aids for you because you probably can't picture The Witcher 1 right now.
It's a blurry image in my head.
Yeah. Well, it's also a blurry image for me too. What else is there? I encountered a bug. The WASD inputs, you would toggle them, but it would register as a permanent hold. It would not relinquish the control. I was playing Inscription. You use the up and down arrow keys to look at your hand and look at the game board, and it would return to the hand. You could never escape it. Geralt will not stop running. The only way to get out of it is you have to save and reload, and that wasn't working for me. So I created a workaround. You play in point-and-click mode. So the default viewing scheme of The Witcher 1 is third person over the shoulder, but that necessitates WASD movement. So you have to move around by clicking to get around that. There's low isometric and high isometric. It's like League. It's like Dota.
Sure.
You're looking at Geralt. He's an ant. So I'm playing with point-and-click controls. Mind you, Chris, because this is Diminished Edition, it's on a touchpad.
Yikes.
So you can look forward to this. I am going to beat The Witcher 1 because it's playable on Apple hardware. And that's all I have to use. As much as I would like to get in on the Breath of the Wild and a Tears of the Kingdom, because you're probably playing Tears of the Kingdom soon.
Goal is end of the year, maybe?
Right. But I want to talk with Samantha about that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get this Witcher thing out of the way. So let's talk about the actual gameplay.
How far into it are you?
Well, I'm. The year is 1270, 5 years after the Great War. I'm going to figure out what that means later. I'm riding in the back of a wagon. And another clan member of Vesemir's squad says, Hey, Witcher, hey, Geralt, you took a spill there. How you feeling? And Geralt is like, I remember nothing. And I go, me neither, because I haven't played this game in 6 years. I roll up to Kaer Morhen. The bad guys attack Kaer Morhen, right? And when I say the bad guys, they look like pirates, but they're led by two dudes. The professor, who is probably the final game antagonist. I'm calling it now. And then the guy that has way too many piercings, but the resolution is so bad, it just looks like gray spots on his arms and face. So they attack. And Vesemir goes, Geralt, run around Kaer Morhen, open this gate so we can walk through before the Frightener comes and just bites our heads off because he's a praying mantis monster. Geralt opens the gate to save his friends, and rather than lowering the gate to deter the Frightener, Triss casts a spell that destroys the whole gate, blocking its path. There's no way we're ever coming back to Kaer Morhen. We are ruining this building. Earlier, a stone staircase collapsed just as Geralt was charging up it and jumped to safety. How do we know that wasn't Triss trying to help and just casting a spell that caused the staircase to collapse? I'm having fun collecting items. I got a grindstone from a chest. And you know how if you go to sharpen one of your swords for a momentary attack buff?
Yes.
He physically takes out a little stone and goes, shing. And back in 2003, when this game came out, it must have blown everyone's mind. Is this 2003?
2007.
Whatever. So that's where I'm at. I'm still in Kaer Morhen. I learned my first Ard.
Okay, your first sign.
I'm probably going to use them regularly because I am playing on normal difficulty.
Okay.
And my control scheme, I'm going to have to use everything at my disposal.
Right.
I don't have the quick twitch third-person conventions. Maybe I get really good at League after this.
Yeah, those skills will port right over.
Do you have any questions for me, Chris?
Yeah, so at the risk of dampening your enthusiasm right off the bat, this is a game I haven't played outside of the opening hours.
And that's why it's so good. You're going to play it through me I'm going to give you all the context on the dialogue choices that are going to ripple into... Because you remember I played enough of Witcher 3 to get in that bathtub and listen to what's-his-face say, like, I can't believe you and Dandelion chose the Griffermore. And I was like, guilty as charged. I didn't know what that meant.
Context.
I need the context.
Will this endeavor of yours hit a brick wall as soon as you reach Witcher 2? Because the hardware probably won't support
Witcher
it.
2 is not available on Mac. You're right. It's Windows only. We'll get there when we get there, Chris.
Okay. I won't worry about it for the moment.
You're saying I have to play Witcher 2? It's one of your favorite games ever.
I really only levy that praise at Witcher 3, to be honest.
Okay. All right. Interesting.
I mean, I skipped Witcher 1 almost entirely. But to be fair, I wasn't playing the Diminished edition, so...
You got to get on the Diminished edition, buddy.
I haven't seen its charms.
Yeah.
Very fun. Okay. Did not see this coming. I can't believe you hid your Steam play history from me. That's hilarious.
Because the only reason I did is because you guys outed me for playing not Undertale or not Deltarune.
Was it Witness? Was it Nier?
There was something you guys mentioned like, oh, how's your progress in X? And I was like, damn it, I gotta keep things secret.
Yeah, we're nosy.
Now nothing's private. Just like Geralt in that bathtub. How many? I'm gonna count the number of tubs he gets in.
Okay, keep a running count.
Here, you want to play some bets real quick? Is it double digits?
Let's put the over-under number at...
Like 6?
Yeah, six sounds
tubs?
right. 6 tubs.
I'm going over.
Okay.
He's tubbed out of his
say
mind.
Barely under.
It's very exciting.
Yeah.
That is all the gaming I've played. I mean, obviously, I booted up Inscription and discovered that bug as well.
Right.
Dude, Inscription is so good.
It is so good.
I came across those grizzly bears for the first time.
Okay.
Yeah.
On like the initial run.
Too fast, too soon.
Too fast, too soon.
Yeah.
Samantha will be pleased to hear Inscription mentioned on the show. All right. And with that, we can take a break. And when we come back, it's email section time and business analysis. See you then.
Yeah, out the gate, the characters are like, oh, I've heard Dandelion's ballads about you. And I'm like, gosh, there's pretext in the first game? I got to play Witcher 0, which is hopefully what Witcher 4 is coming out. It's going to be a prequel.
Yeah, so to show you how much homework could be done, the first Witcher game picks up right after the entire novel series ends.
Yeah.
So that's what they're referencing. And as a soft Band-Aid to that situation, Geralt has amnesia to try to help onboard players who have no idea what's going on.
And we're back.
Okay, as was teased last episode, we're going to address an email from friend of the show, Janice. I did have a little bit of context I wanted to try and provide. We were talking about layoffs affecting the video game industry last episode.
Mainly Microsoft.
Yes, this was sparked by Microsoft's massive 9,000 person layoff.
Over 9,000.
That brought the total count of video game layoffs over the past several recent years up to approximately 35,000 job cuts. And we were hemming and hawing, trying to put that number into context. How does that compare to like the total number of people working in the industry? And I did some cursory digging to try to get an answer to that. I couldn't find a very satisfactory answer.
Me neither, yeah.
I was trying to get a global number, like how many people are working on making video games. The best I could come up with is from the Entertainment Software Association, the ESA. They used to put on E3 and stuff.
RIP.
They're pretty in the know. On their website here with their nice infographic, they have data just pertaining to the United States, so not worldwide. And they said there were about 104,000 direct jobs in the video game industry. And then if you lump in indirect jobs, which there's no definitions around that.
That's like play testing, marketing.
Purely speculation on my part.
All the non-dev stuff.
But I was thinking like, Would GameStop be indirect because they're a retailer that sells video games?
No.
Would Circana be indirect? They gather data and sales information about video games. Or like IGN, they do all reporting on video games.
No.
Yeah, there is no solid definition of what is a direct job and what is indirect. But they're
I think if you touch the product before it goes gold.
Right. That's kind of how I would want to define it. But those definitions aren't given. They said there's like 262,000 jobs in the industry if you lump those both together.
Yeah.
I saw some estimates saying the total jobs in the US was closer to 350,000. So we're working with a range here.
We're well under 500,000.
We're well under 500,000 in the USA. But I think that adds some context that the number of layoffs could be as much as more than 1 in 10 employees let go.
Right.
Which is a high minority, if you ask. That's like higher than I would have expected it.
The industry has been decimated.
Right. So these are severe levels of cutting taking place.
More than I did this year.
More than you did on your Vulcan cut.
That's a fitness joke.
So that was my attempt at roughly adding some context that was missing from last episode. It's bad. Okay. On to an email we got from Janice, which is going to guide this state of the industry conversation.
Guide me, Janice. I leave my microphone and I just wander around with my eyes closed.
Janice says, "Hello. I recently listened to a small rant by Mort Dog, a Riot Games and formerly Nintendo developer, on the state of the gaming industry that I found aligned with my current conception of the gaming industry."
Mort Dog's the real deal.
Yeah, he's got lots of industry experience. And this was just on his YouTube channel. Heath and I have both watched the video Janice is referencing. Janice continues, "The rant itself was triggered by the mass firing at Microsoft and the failure of massive investments like games like Concord. The core of the argument is that the Western video game industry is broken, almost beyond repair, and that functionally everybody from leadership to the base level employees are at least partially responsible. Leadership doesn't know how to make good games efficiently anymore. Budgets have become extremely bloated, and there is a tendency to attempt to throw money at the game in the hopes that it somehow becomes quote-unquote good down the line. Too much focus and resources are invested into less core priorities like graphical fidelity, art, and driving the hype. Lower-level employees are often in hyper-specific roles. Mort Dog in the video uses the example of UX designers and how that role didn't exist back when he worked at Nintendo, and are often not invested in the overall project and success of a game. They are more interested in using the examples of artists making 10 detailed landscapes or art pieces rather than 100 serviceable ones. As for my thoughts, these are Janice's thoughts. I always wondered if this is just the natural result of over-commercialization and the corporatization of the industry. You guys frequently talk of video games as living in the realm of art. However, a common theme of artistic industries is that people in the arts are in it for the love of the medium and not the money, because the vast majority of artists, he says, except for like a fraction of a percentage, don't make all that much money. I think you can see this more clearly in the indie space, and maybe that is just what the industry should be. People making games with their blood, sweat, and tears for the love of it, and fewer quote-unquote day job game devs and artists. The critique of the overemphasis on graphic fidelity is also something that I've thought about myself. Diminishing returns make me wonder if the jump from 1440p to 4K was really necessary. In conclusion, Jenna says, I'm curious what your guys' take on the state of the gaming industry is and how to fix it. I, for one, think there needs to be fewer AAA games straight up, and that game devs should be on average poorer like the artists they are. From Janice. Bit of a hot take at the end.
Yeah, that got awesome.
Okay, so that lengthy email, lots of directions we could take the conversation. I wrote down so many rambling thoughts. I tried to impose some structure on it. I have 3 chapters to the conversation. 1 is defining the problems and how we got here. 2 was addressing some of Mort Dog, the developer's proposed solutions. And 3, the Chris original solutions at the end.
Please. If anyone is into making sauces or craft alcoholic beverages. Can we get a Chris Original Solutions flavored whatever? Just I want that on a label with keep refrigerated.
Did you have general sound off thoughts you wanted to lay out right at the start?
I do, but surely they will be polluted with non sequiturs, so you must start the chapters.
Okay. Then let's start with the problems, how we got here. To put it simply in very quick terms to people, the big problem we're facing is that it's become much more difficult to release a profitable video game in recent years. And that's what has led to the rampant layoffs and studio closures we're now seeing in the industry. If games were wildly profitable, we wouldn't need to be having these layoffs. And then there's a whole bunch of reasons we can point to how we got here. One, as stated previously, the video game development cycles have gotten too long. Employee headcounts have gotten too high. And those two factors, of course, lead to the ballooning budget sizes we are seeing that make it more challenging for a game to be profitable. If that floor is rising higher and higher, the budget of the game, that by necessity means you need much more sales to be earning a profit. And at the same time, as those budgets creep upwards, what's unfortunate is the number of video game consumers, people who are actually spending money on these things, that number seems to be plateauing. It's not growing the way it used to. It should be obvious now that video games have existed as a commercial product for 50 years at this point. The word is out there. We're not reaching many new people who, what is this newfangled video game? People are either already a gamer or they've written them off. They decided, not for me. There's not that many more markets to penetrate. You could argue there are some, like in developing countries, that will someday play more video games.
Brazil goes hard on old consoles.
Retro games. And that's a very unique market because of their prohibitive tariffs on newer technology.
Oh.
If you wanted to buy a PS5 in Brazil, the price is crazy, like months of wages or something.
Wow.
So yeah, that's a very unique place to be playing video games. But yeah, by and large, what used to be a given in years past, there would be year-on-year growth in the industry because we're reaching more and more new people as this young medium matures. It's now mature.
We've hit saturation.
We've hit saturation, at least in the Western and East Asian markets. Video games are a known quantity. More issues, and this is a more recent trend, consumer behavior has changed in a way that leads to more losers. So while spending on video games is not really going down, it's staying somewhat stable.
I spent money on video games last month.
Yes. We've entered a very top-heavy, winner-takes-all environment where gaming revenue is becoming more and more consolidated into the hands of a few very successful games, leading to many more overall losers who aren't getting those gaming dollars. And a very quick, easy to illustrate point, for the past several fiscal years of Sony, who creates PlayStation, one of the biggest consoles around, 50% of PlayStation's revenue, money coming in the door, is coming from just 10 game franchises. It's the usual suspects you would expect. It's Fortnite, it's annualized sports games, it's Call of Duty. 10 franchises account for half the money coming into Sony's coffers, leaving the other half for everybody else. And
thousands of games.
It's crazy. So the distribution of wealth is way out of whack, more so than it used to be. These are well-known issues. I have a couple speculative things I also wanted to mention that could be contributing to this boiling point we're reaching. This one's not speculative. This one's kind of obvious, but worth mentioning. These budgets that keep going out of control, even without taking into consideration all of the unique factors specifically hurting video games, we're in a high inflation environment. If you look at cumulative inflation just since 2020, 5 years ago, that number is right around 25%. So your more affordable video game budget of 5 years ago that was like $80 million, now it's north of $100 million just purely because of inflation. That's not even taking into consideration other
the value of stuff.
Factors. So yeah, you can't ignore how bad inflation has been recently. I'll also point at, and I was kind of proud of thinking of this one, although it is complete speculation. I have no proof to back it up. But I did recall back in, I think the peak time for these headlines appearing was circa 2017 to 2019, I remember hearing a lot, nearly on a monthly basis. There was reporting coming out about how bad video game work culture is when it came to crunch and what was expected of developers toiling away at really high hours per week on games to get them shipped. That maybe peaked with the release of Red Dead Redemption 2 in 2018, where there was an infamous reporting about how it was expected that some people were working over 100 hours per week to get Red Dead Redemption 2 across the finish line. That was like peak crunch is the worst thing around. And I support that reporting by and large and the message behind it. But in recent years, I've seen reporting on crunch really taper off. I don't hear about it very much anymore. That could be for many reasons. Maybe it just fell out of fashion to report on. But maybe optimistically, maybe crunch has lightened in the video game industry, which is something a practice I would support. But as a natural consequence of people working fewer hours per week, that would result in working on a game for a longer duration of time, which would mean games take longer, which would result in larger budgets if crunch has been alleviated. And maybe that's the case. This is, once again, conjecture on my part. But if the crunch situation was improved, games would cost more to make. I've stated a lot of reasons so far. Anything you want to jump in on so far, Heath?
Having left the movie industry is not like this for two reasons. There's very little upfront cost in purchasing a movie because everybody has an electronic device that can watch it. And I don't need to buy a console from whatever country.
On the consumer side, viewing a movie more accessible than playing a game.
And reason number two is because all the labor is unionized.
Right. Not the case in game development. Unions are not very prevalent when making games.
You have to be within budget.
Great points. That's some good context. And then this came up in the email. It's something I think is maybe interesting to consider. And it was a complaint of Mort Dog in the rant video as well. The issue with these highly specialized roles in game development, like the UX designer example, I suppose, where maybe this is contributing to team sizes getting a little out of control, too massive, where if you're like subdividing what used to be a singular role, maybe like the person who does all the graphic design and the UX and all that, and now it's being subdivided into more than one person's job, that would lead to a higher headcount and more money on salaries.
But you need the UX designer because otherwise you're going to end up with things where adjusting the sound in the settings doesn't play back a sound so I can know how loud the sound is.
This is a big question mark to me, basically. How do companies get so big? And I'm sure some of it is increased expectations about how feature-rich a game is and how the graphical fidelity standards have gone through the roof. But it's so crazy that a AAA cutting-edge game like Halo Combat Evolved was made by a team of 40 to 50 people. And now that team size would be laughable. You need so many more people than that. Just 2 decades later. Yeah, I can't fully explain it.
Yeah.
That part of why teams are so big is opaque to me. I do think maybe it's not a specific video game issue. Maybe it's just, like Janice said, the over-commercialization issues. As companies get really big, like that bakes in some increased inefficiencies, right? Communication is harder through a massive organization. That's going to slow things down. Having really specific roles is maybe not as good as just having a really talented generalist, but those are hard to come by. I think of maybe the most egregious example in the industry is Ubisoft, who employs right around 20,000 people. And I look at their relatively paltry output of games, and I'm wondering what everyone could possibly be doing. Like, is half of Ubisoft toiling away in secret on Beyond Good and Evil 2 for 10 years? I don't know what accounts for that headcount, and they're, few games a year.
They're tweaking the Uplay engine.
Now, to be fair, Ubisoft is in a lot of trouble. Like, they're not a healthy company.
No.
So that headcount is bloated. But I look to the opposite end of the spectrum, the gold standard, someone like Valve, who has a mere 350 employees. And somehow, with that relatively slim number of people, They bring in more revenue per employee than any other tech company on planet Earth.
Yeah. Probably, yeah.
And they've done it just by being small and efficient. I bet it really helps that they're a private company and they're not beholden to stockholders and needing to pay a dividend every quarter. But no, I feel like being a private company is probably an advantage since the mandatory pursuit of growth every quarter is no longer necessary if you're private. You can ignore that. I could cite some like personal software development experience about the folly of having such hyper-specific roles, but maybe that's a bit too much of a tangent. We can move on. I think we thoroughly covered the problem. And now we can move into the solution. We can fix video games, Heath. There were a couple ideas put forward by Mortdog in the video that I think have merit and are definitely strong advice. One thing he brought up was games are taking so long to make. 5 years is now the norm, maybe longer. He said, from his experience, it would behoove teams to determine if a game has promise much earlier in the development cycle. He claimed that it shouldn't really take more than 9 months of working on a game to tell if it's going to be good if there's a nugget of gold there. One of the lessons he took away from his time working at Nintendo, who consistently pump out games at a good cadence, is that honestly, your game should be fun with gray blocks before you pump it up with like all the art assets, flesh it out, make it into a full product. Just the proof of concept, like the
vertical slice.
The vertical slice. Thank you. Before you add any of the frills and bells and whistles, that should be fun.
I don't know. It's real biting the hand that feeds you, though. If you did that in any other job, they'd be like, this guy doesn't have any faith in this. Let's get the other guy. I'm just telling you, I would never do that.
You think it would be looked down upon to be like so eager to toss it in the trash?
If I was on a project that was going to be a stinker, like the few that I've been on, I would never be my own whistleblower.
Sure. And maybe it's...
because I have a paycheck to earn.
Right.
But maybe there'd be more paychecks if we got on the right track, not sunk as much cost into the stinker.
He's advising not to continue throwing good money after bad. Sunk cost fallacy. The game doesn't show much promise, but you keep developing it for year after year, hoping it gets good. He's claiming inevitably it never does.
I've never been on a dev cycle that's been more than 2 months.
Right.
That's how long it takes to shoot a movie, yeah.
This issue is compounded when a game takes many years. I think his advice is good where applicable, but I think perhaps maybe some of his personal game dev history bias is creeping in, where he's worked at Nintendo and Riot, two developers that I would say make pretty purely mechanically focused games, where Nintendo, known for Mario and Donkey Kong Bananza, prime example. If you take all the art assets out, strip it down into its bare essentials, punching through the environment and carving your paths in Donkey Kong Bonanza is still pretty fun.
It's a rockin' 3D platformer, yes.
Yes. His advice would be well served there. Their proof of concept is solid, and then they take it to its logical extreme and finish the game. Anecdotally, and I've never been in game dev, but from the stories I've heard other developers actually say the opposite to what Mortdog said. And I think both of them can be true. I don't think either of them is wrong. But I'm especially thinking of a game that's a little more going on under the hood, something like an RPG, where it's so multidisciplinary, where you've got the gameplay team working on combat. You've got the script writers and the branching narrative tree to consider. You know, all the acting that needs to be performed and the motion capture and all these disparate elements, the music, how much impact is behind the player decision, like how much agency are you given? Are your RPG decisions reflected back at you in a meaningful way? They're so disparate and multidisciplinary that you only really get a cohesive idea of what the game looks like towards the end of the process, when all of those different elements are finally combined. And that, I think his advice works well on more simple, purely mechanical games, but I've heard the opposite, where you really don't know if you have a winner on your hand until you're close to shipping,
right,
which is unfortunate.
Right, because sometimes you end up with Elden Ring, but then sometimes you end up with Borderlands 4. Is that a bad RPG?
I mean, it's not out yet.
Okay.
The one example that springs to mind right off the dome is in some of BioWare's well-liked games.
Andromeda.
Not Andromeda. Some of their well-beloved games.
Yeah.
There was a sentiment on the team called the BioWare Magic,
Yeah.
where they somehow get it across the finish line right at the very end, and it's finally good. I think this would apply to Dragon Age Inquisition, where it wasn't coming together right until the very end, and then it won GOTYs at some outlets.
Some of those VTOL missions never came together either. Okay, you wagered RPGs. You know what game I would wager that if you were to replace it with gray blocks, really would not cut the mustard?
What?
Solcesto.
Solcesto, a game I'm not familiar with.
It's the latest roguelite. Test your luck. There's a grid of 4x4 grid, and it's populated with enemies, and you have to play with the probability that you're going to land on an enemy because it's a random chance among the 4 cells, and you're just working on your inventory. And Chris, this art style is it's really unique.
It's doing some heavy lifting.
Yes. And I think it scratches my Balatro gambling itch in creating a build that synergizes well.
It seems cool.
Yep, but you're not going to play it yet because it's in early access, and don't fret.
How did it come across your radar?
Northern Lion was playing it.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah, but just think of the gray blocks. Solcesto is nothing without its art style.
Right. And you could point towards many of the narrative-focused indie games that it's about the experience. And if you take out the art assets and the moving scores, you're left with something really unimpressive. Something like Grease, for example.
Which they kept the gray, but they changed the blocks to a nice lady, a very sad lady.
And then Mort Dog was pining for, he thinks a lot of problems could be solved if we could return to the days of a more consistent 3-year development cycle, budgets that are around the 30 million mark. And that would make it so that hitting a sales milestone for shipping 1 million copies would be a nice success. That's a good return on your investment. Where now, with budgets being so far north of 30 million, into the hundreds of millions, selling 1 million copies used to be a big win. Now that's insufficient. You're not breaking even at that point. So he wanted to scale projects back, smaller in scope. I feel like that advice is easier said than done. I mean, that would solve a lot of problems. Now, those $30 million games that he's probably referring to are just by nature of inflation no longer going to be 30 million. They're more expensive than that.
Yeah.
And here's one of my big weak points in this argument. This is, once again, it is opaque to me why teams are this large now. So I can't point to why going back to 3-year dev cycles is impossible to do. Maybe it is possible to do. I just can't comment on it.
More gigabytes. I don't know, Chris, it's really difficult to give advice to companies whose games I would not pay full price for.
Sure.
The annual output of all these studios that you're saying ought to restructure to hit that 30 million, blah, blah, blah. I would probably pay full price for 10% of them.
That's an important point you're hitting on, Heath.
I buy Solcesto for full price. That looks awesome.
This year in particular, I've been playing a lot of an uncharacteristic number of new releases for me personally. But in general, I'm usually pretty patient. I'm happy to play a game a couple of years after its release. And the fact that we could continue to suffer video game layoffs for a while, and the current output of video game releases is still sufficiently high that if it were to be tamped down a bit, I wouldn't be crying any tears over it personally for my game playing habits. And I think that's illustrative of the problem, that me, a video game enthusiast who probably buys and plays more than most people, even I'm okay with the output being reduced. That's painting the problem. That means that the output is way too high as it is.
Yeah.
If I can't keep up, no one's keeping up.
Yeah.
Which means, maybe it's awful to say, but maybe this reduction, this correction just is a necessity. It has to happen. There are too many games coming out for anyone to reasonably play. So there, by necessity, doesn't need to be that many games.
What's the variable in your life that we could plot over the years to get a sense of, now we're producing too few games?
Right. We have so far to fall before I will even entertain saying that statement.
What would it be, though?
What would it be?
You would start actually buying trash?
I would start to be concerned when I am making big headway on my backlog without the new titles piling up.
I think we plot it by new hobbies that if you start getting into basketball, that's when you know the games industry's in trouble.
Right. As soon as I am looking up disc golf courses in my area,
yeah,
or like
booster packs of physical cards,
or buying a pickleball racket, that's where the alert is ringing.
Yeah.
That brings us to, I came up as video game expert, Chris. I can solve the industry's woes right here and now.
I didn't even play Witcher 1.
I came up with some solutions I think, if applied at scale, would yield some positive results. Here's what I came up with, Heath. Number one, maybe this is easier said than done, but I think if you were to simply reduce the scope and size of many games coming out to be a little smaller and more digestible, we wouldn't have to spend so long making them.
Can you name a game that fits that Goldilocks zone? Dave the Diver?
Even that, I think, was a bit too long.
Okay.
I think recent Resident Evil games are in that sweet spot.
Oh, yeah.
They take maybe 10 to 12 hours, and then you hit the credits.
I meant the dev cycle.
I was saying let's reduce the duration of games.
Oh, I misunderstood. Okay, good.
If we just cut out some levels here and there, make games shorter, the fact that I feel confident proposing this is that it's a fraction of players who even beat games in the first place.
Oh, yeah.
If a minority of your players are finishing the game, then
it's wasted energy.
Content in the back half of the game is a wasted effort. So let's just make games a little shorter, more digestible. Most players won't even notice because they weren't finishing them to begin with.
Yeah.
And we'll save some time and money that way. That was option one. This other one is more specific. This answer came to mind when I thought of two specific developers working in the industry right now, known for their prolific output. I am thinking of RGG Studio.
Yeah.
Makers of the Yakuza Like a Dragon games, who even I cannot keep up with. They pump them out. So many games. I also think of From Software. They're cranking out Game of the Year contenders left, right, and center. Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree, Night Rain, and Armored Core 6 were all within the past 3 years.
That's pretty wild. I mean, Elden Ring took quite a long time in the oven, and people were like, oh, this better be good, and then it crushed.
Yeah. So these are two studios. Granted, these aren't Western devs, and part of this email was like, what's particularly bad among the Western devs? I was thinking to myself, what is the commonality between these two devs that are absolutely crushing it right now? And I actually came up with an interesting answer. Those two studios are known for leveraging asset reuse pretty judiciously.
Oh.
Very
Kamurocho.
Very obvious in the Yakuza games. Many of them take place in the same exact city. Your world is built. Their character models are made. They just populate it with the new story beats and they pump out a new game quickly and of a high quality.
And then Patches.
Patches?
It's a recurring character in From Software games.
Oh, okay. I know From Software games are known for reusing lots of attack animations. I know Night Rain is kind of like a smorgasbord of past Dark Souls bosses.
It's nothing but.
So they're both coming up with creative applications for asset reuse, which saves a lot of time. I think there's this kind of borderline unhealthy insistence that whenever a game developer makes a sequel, they kind of start from scratch. They're like, well, let's toss that old thing out, make a whole new world, whole new engine we'll make it on. Got to be bigger and better in every way. I think we should reinvent the wheel less often.
You say that, but if I'm playing the next Resident Evil and I see the same Ooga Booga I saw from the other one, or God forbid, a door creaks the exact same way, it's going to take me out of it.
It is walking a bit of a fine line. It's easy to give this advice and then you can overcorrect. Now it's a shameless copy. But I think look to From Software and RGG Studio. I think they're leveraging this strategy very effectively.
What game studio uses the least amount of the buffalo? Just tremendous amounts of waste.
Well, I mean, weird example, maybe Rockstar games, because Rockstar releases are so few and far between.
Yeah.
It has to be an event, right? And I think they sell so many copies that I suppose they get a pass.
They horseshoe back around to profitability, yes.
Right. All right, let's keep churning out these excellent Chris original solutions.
Give me more.
And this one, maybe there's some personal bias bleeding in here. I would say stop normalizing and greenlighting quite so many persistent live service games. Now, these aren't the style of games I like to play, so there's some bias. But if you do pursue making the next big live service game, be aware just how high of a risk you are taking. The market for that style of always online game is especially saturated because due to their never-ending nature, the audience for those type of games, they're largely already captured.
Yeah.
The people who are into that kind of game, they're already playing Fortnite, Warzone, Rocket League,
Final Fantasy 14,
FF14 online. Before someone will even consider playing your new live service game, much less spending money on it, you first have to successfully pry them off of their current...
I was going to say rip them away.
With a crowbar, where that level of commitment to old games isn't quite as fervent if you're working on a single-player game, where those games, by definition, have a finite ending to them. I will finish Donkey Kong Bonanza, and then I will be looking to buy my next single-player game. The audience is churning more rapidly.
But Chris, if you get those whales...
That's why it's so tempting.
A Pepsi drinker at a young age is a Pepsi drinker for life.
If your live service game hits, it's a golden goose. You have generational money. But that's the thing. It's very high risk, very high reward. So if you are the next Fortnite, you're set for life. But so many of them will not be, and then the studio closes down and the team gets laid off.
Yeah.
So if you want to make a safer investment, greenlight more single-player games, be more risk-averse. Moving on.
Oh, I'm loving these Chris original sauce.
Okay, this one's unpopular. I think, and we're seeing it happen.
Play less games.
Just to keep up with inflation, I have to say, yeah, the price of games probably should go up a bit.
Boo!
The rise to Nintendo norm of $80, it's an inevitability, and I think it has to happen.
I don't want to pay that much.
Right. And I'll probably wait for sales for most games, but for your day one audience, you might as well extract that little bit more amount of profit from them if they're willing to pay it. That was a short and sweet one. And then last, Chris' original solution. And this one, I could go either way on it. I think it would yield a positive result by and large. Implementing it would be tricky. I think you should actually do more gatekeeping. Raise the barrier of entry for allowing which games are permitted to be sold on mainstream storefronts like Steam, Nintendo eShop, or the PlayStation Store.
Exclusivity?
Have kind of a curation team. The thing I'm getting at here is these market fronts are flooded with games, right? You look at recent releases, new releases are kind of released and then unceremoniously shoved at the end of the queue. They're now
make way.
They're old news after 24 hours or so to make way for the next glut of chaff. There's a lot of shovelware being put on the storefronts, which degrades consumer confidence, right? You can't reliably boot up Steam on a lark, be like, oh, by screenshots, this game looks fun. It'll probably be fun. And buy it. And it'll probably be pretty mediocre to bad.
I'll one-up you, Chris. I bet you could Steam roulette your library and might not hit a banger.
That is true. There's a lot of bundle games in that library. So if we were higher gatekeepers, if the number of games releasing on storefronts was more heavily curated to only games of a certain caliber were allowed on, consumers would maybe be more willing to try out games on a whim. To the layman who isn't listening to 5 video game podcasts every week, on just looking at screenshots alone on the storefront you're browsing games on, how are you meant to evaluate the quality of Balatro versus Game of the Week? They both look kind of similar, and you don't know that Balatro is a Game of the Year quality game, and the other game is not.
Go.
In the same way, a retailer like Target, they don't allow every brand of shampoo in existence on their store shelf. They have to choose.
I had never really thought of that.
Steam would have a curation team, and that's a big job considering how many games are out there.
Surely they're already doing it.
I think they're pretty laissez-faire. I mean, it's somewhat counterintuitive. I'm proposing that maybe if there were fewer games on the store, you would actually make more money, which goes against surface level logic. because consumer confidence is so low, even though there are more games, they're not being purchased.
I don't know, Chris.
If every week only 5 games, that's too low. Every week 10 games come out on Steam.
Okay, yeah.
You have the Steam seal of quality. They are verified Steam bangers.
What are you... Oh, okay.
Because they were filtered through the curation team.
Right. You ought to buy these 10 games.
And then all the eyeballs of the video game purchasing audience are directed on only 10 games.
Okay.
They're going to be profitable.
As opposed to the current setting, which is what?
Where it's hundreds, if not thousands per week.
A deluge.
Yes.
And how does that harm me?
Because you will never hear about 98% of them.
That's fine. Because the 2% that I hear about
are deserving.
Are heard about.
Right. And then they win. But I think of the 98% you never hear about, there's a minority chunk of that is also deserving that you should hear about.
A false negative?
And they fall through the cracks. They never get their time in the spotlight.
But, I mean, you could posit the reciprocal, saying that if you do your curation, you also run the risk of excluding folks.
Yeah. It's hard to guarantee a perfect process here.
I think that's why they chose the laissez-faire option.
The laissez-faire option is also easier. It takes zero work.
Right.
But once upon a time, if we go back 10 years ago, maybe more, having your game release on Steam was a golden ticket. It was a guarantee of success.
Right.
And now...
I remember those days.
Now that is no longer the case whatsoever.
Because the noise to signal ratio is so poor?
So poor. That ratio is so out of whack, yeah.
But that's just because more games are being made than those golden days.
That is true. Yeah.
You're attributing it to the store rather than how many more fish are in the sea.
The human brain cannot visualize the number of games releasing right now. In order to focus in and actually approach the decision of maybe buying something, curation has to occur at some point.
Right. And that's what the algorithms do.
Algorithms where?
Like if I open Steam and I go to store, it's
okay,
featured and recommended.
Okay.
There's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 12 that I can cycle through without even scrolling.
I guess I would wonder what the hit to miss ratio is of the curated list you've been shown. Do you have a high degree of confidence about those?
Well, I mean, I have zero confidence in this Wizard 101.
That's an ancient game.
Is it?
I would see commercials for that on cable.
I mean, many of them are games you own.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. Maybe soft locking games from even being available for purchase is a bridge too far. Maybe curation algorithms are all you need.
I mean, we're a curation algorithm.
We are. And I was saying maybe the storefronts themselves should have an even more responsibility around the curating they perform.
What's your policy on immigration?
Let me think about it for a second. I think immigration should occur.
But if there's a curation team, we get much more qualified immigrants.
Right. And then the devil's in the details. Where do you draw the line?
But south of Texas.
Because it's a spectrum, right? On one hand, you could let no one into the country, and on the other hand, anyone is free and clear to come in. All the nuances in where do you draw the line between those 2 points. And in the same way, I haven't specified where that line should be on video game platforms.
So much so that it doesn't brick the store and you get like bots.
I mean, you don't have to look very hard on Steam to find asset flips.
Oh.
To find heavily...
Well,
yeah.
You finish your sentence and then I'll destroy it.
AI-generated garbage.
Well, Chris, as luck would have it, I have never come across that.
Okay.
Why is that? Just because I didn't bother to search it?
Right.
I think the fact that I'm ignorant of that is the store helping filter those out.
And that's good. I'm lamenting, by the same token, you're also ignorant of games you would really, really like.
What, like Blueprints? Like Chance of Sonar? Yeah. I'm foaming at the mouth to play those games. Chris, this is so speculative.
This one is speculative. I'll grant you that.
I'm not even aware of the fun games that I could be owning. No, Chris, you're wrong. The military-industrial complex worth of influencers trying to get my eyeballs performs that service for Steam.
It does. I wonder how normal that is, though. Is your average video game consumer plugged into that ecosystem?
Your average video game consumer?
Yeah, your average video game consumer.
So much so.
Okay.
They're all on Reddit.
I don't know
They're
if you're
all on Reddit?
I don't know if your average person is on Reddit.
Crap. You're right. Okay, we're talking about the average video game consumer
Right.
again.
Joe Schmo.
Do we know of the average video game consumer?
No, I don't associate with normies.
Yeah, we don't. But no, I'm being serious.
Okay.
Actually name someone that I personally know, and we won't dox him. But
Maybe
who is it Dan?
Maybe Justin.
Yeah. Yeah, because he has a cursory interest,
He was hooked on Hearthstone for a while.
but never enough to actually know. Justin is so ignorant to games that he would enjoy. You are totally right.
If you listen to a single video game podcast, you are not the average consumer.
I mean, that's changing.
Okay.
That's so...
Trending in a different direction.
Does the average sports fan watch ESPN? Yes. I'm saying that we are trending toward ESPN for games.
Okay.
And it's mainly these internet personalities.
Sure.
Decentralized ESPN.
Decentralized.
But you're totally right. Yeah, Justin. Yeah. Okay. Go on.
I don't have too much more to go on. You've sampled the Chris originals, every flavor.
Justin wouldn't even benefit from your model. Oh, wait, but maybe he would. I don't think he has the stamina to scroll through your curated Steams. Maybe he, I guess.
Maybe you would have the requisite stamina if that scrolling was no more than 10 games.
What's the analogous thing that people consume that is proof positive that does work?
My head went to Netflix.
Music?
Maybe? Now, those are platforms that are also saturated with content, and they're probably leveraging algorithms, like you said.
Netflix says these are the top 10 shows that are trending. Justin, I'm going to watch that for my weekend.
I just think it's a little bit of a shame that discoverability is kind of offloaded to off the platform. You have to go somewhere else to get your curated recommendations.
But that elsewhere is so accessible.
It is. Yeah, it's free.
You can catch ESPN at your dentist.
It would be handy if it all happened in one place. But like you said, there are solutions. There are workarounds that exist currently. I'm willing to say that Chris original maybe could use a little more time in the kitchen.
There's so many recipes. I don't know what to eat. I wish my refrigerator just gave me a list of the things I should eat. And then the analogy is there's Anna Bergusia. There's all these eating girls on the internet.
Yeah, I guess it would be if you opened your refrigerator and there was the entire supermarket in there.
Oh, yeah. Just embarrassment of choice. Embarrassment of riches?
Yeah.
You're spoiled for choice. And because that's so obtuse or whatever, you're like, I'll just make ramen. Okay. All right. You got me.
Some common ground achieved.
Whatever. Yeah. It really comes down to immigration. It's just you're advocating socialism.
Socialism
You want the state to endorse these choices for the color of your car.
Right. It would be a bi-platform basis.
And I'm in favor of the hexadecimals. You can choose any color.
Right.
But you look at that and your eyes go rainbow scrambled and you're like, I'll just choose white or silver.
And yeah, paradoxically, the more options you have, often the less satisfied you are with what you ultimately choose, the paradox of choice. Because now the burden of choosing, you had so much agency to get it just right, and you doubt yourself. Where if you had 4 options to pick from, you can pretty confidently say, yeah, I did select the best thing for me. There were only 4 options. How good of a choice could it have been?
And if those 4 choices are dynamite every time, I guess it would be a perfect system. But they're going to be duds. You're only as good as the
curation team.
Yeah.
They're doing some heavy lifting.
The powers that be are too strong for the follies of man, or whatever that phrase is.
I'm of the opinion we have maybe talked this topic into the ground.
Send it. Go. Keep going.
I don't have too much more for you, Heath.
I'll have one thing to say.
Excellent.
All right. Walt Disney Animatronic Walt Disney. His animatronic was unveiled at whatever park.
I heard about that.
Yes, and it looks nothing like him.
Yeah, there's some major differences.
Chris, I want you to think years after you're dead when your animatronic gets unveiled at the Mobius Tubes gallery. Mm-hmm. And what do you think your animatronic is going to look like? I mean, Walt Disney's likeness was not a public-facing thing, really, for most of his life.
Right.
And neither is yours, although we're working on it.
I'm behind a microphone.
We're working on it. Don't worry. What do you imagine how are they going to misrepresent you? Not necessarily in an animatronic form, but do you ever think of the fact that, like, what if the actor that plays Chris in the Mobius Tubes biopic has like a British accent?
That would be more jarring, probably. Yeah. You're saying since my visage isn't as integral to my brand, they could take some big artistic liberties with how I look.
Yeah, and that would bother me, even though I'm interested in not using my face going forward with our media empire.
Okay.
You're going to have an artistic character. Samantha's gonna have an artistic character, right? Just like glasses. Just glasses.
Her defining feature.
But it's not gonna be me, because I'm too much of like a Mike Wazowski scamp. I'm gonna be some creature. I don't have to worry about this, because I don't think they're ever gonna see me. It's already going to be anthropomorphized.
Uh-huh.
But for you, it's going to be different. So I just wanted to gauge whether or not you're like, oh, how other people might represent you the way that Walt Disney's animatronic kind of got remixed.
The Walt Disney does seem to have received a bit of a downgrade.
And that's that.
Whew. Well, we did it, Heath. Despite being down a member, we successfully created a podcast episode.
Like we've done for ages.
Yeah, we're just a bit rusty. Had to get back on the saddle. You know what's going to be particularly funny, though? After all the pomp and circumstance about bidding Samantha a fond farewell last episode.
Just coming back for the next one.
I don't want to overpromise, but there's a chance she's back next episode.
Oh my God.
2 weeks from today, she's back in town. I don't know if you knew this.
That it lines up perfectly.
So, listeners, don't get your hopes up too much, but there is a chance you can get some hot Hades impressions from Samantha.
Oh, see, that's another
episode.
game where I was like, oh, do I dive into that? No, I got to play The Witcher.
The Witcher Diminished Edition.
Yes, thank you. Folks, if you actually seize the opportunity, write in questions that you want Samantha to answer now that she's coming back from buying cigarettes. You need only write into mobiustubespodcast@gmail.com.
That's right, Heath. You too, listeners, just like Janice earlier this show, you can reach us at mobiustubespodcast@gmail.com. Maybe our State of the Industry conversation triggered some thoughts in you. You can write in your own original solutions, and we can vet them for you.
We did it.
That'll be this show. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and we'll be back before too long. See ya.